If you truly love great picture quality, then you already know that not all televisions are created equal. You know the difference between a panel that shows you an image and a panel that makes you feel like you are looking through a window. You know what it feels like when black is actually black. Not dark gray, not almost black, but a complete and total absence of light. And in 2026, if you are serious about your display, if you care about the difference between good and genuinely breathtaking, there are really only two names that matter at the top of the market: Sony Bravia and LG OLED. Both are built on OLED panel technology. Both cost serious money. Both have communities of devoted owners who will tell you with complete sincerity that their television is the best display they have ever seen. But one of them, in 2026, has pulled decisively ahead. In this video, we are going to compare both side-by-side picture processing, black levels, color accuracy, motion handling, gaming performance, sound quality, smart TV experience, and real-world value to find out which one has truly crushed the competition. Let's dive in. What is Sony Bravia OLED? To understand what Sony brings to the OLED market, you have to understand that Sony is not simply a television manufacturer. Sony is a content company. They own PlayStation. They own one of the largest film studios in the world. They operate one of the most important music labels on the planet. When Sony engineers design a television, they are designing it with the full knowledge of what the people who create the content actually intended it to look like. That is not a marketing statement. It is a genuine and meaningful engineering advantage. The Sony Bravia A95L and its 2026 successors use Sony's proprietary Cognitive Processor XR, a picture processing engine that Sony claims analyzes content the way a human brain perceives it, cross-referencing thousands of elements simultaneously rather than processing picture quality zone by zone. The result is a television whose image has a quality that reviewers consistently describe as organic, cinematic, and emotionally real. Not just technically accurate, but genuinely beautiful in the way that a great photograph or a piece of cinema is beautiful. Sony's OLED televisions are not just display devices, they are artistic instruments. What is LG OLED? LG holds a position in the OLED television market that is unlike any other manufacturer in the world. Because LG Display, the panel division of the LG Corporation, manufactures virtually every walled panel used in premium televisions across the entire industry, including the panels inside Sony Bravia OLED sets. LG essentially invented the consumer OLED television market when they launched the first 55-inch OLED TV in 2013, and they have been refining it with extraordinary focus and investment every single year since. In 2026, LG's flagship OLED lineup, the G-Series Gallery panels, the Z-Series 8K models, and the newly launched M-Series with its wireless transmission system, represents the absolute cutting edge of what OLED panel technology can achieve. LG's Alpha 11 AI processor delivers picture processing that is genuinely world-class, and their OLED Evo panel technology pushes brightness levels that were considered impossible for self-emissive displays just 3 years ago. LG OLED televisions are the benchmark against which every other premium display in the world is measured, and in 2026, they continue to set that benchmark higher than ever before. Picture processing. This is where Sony makes its most compelling and most debated argument. The Cognitive Processor XR processes the entire image holistically, analyzing the scene, identifying the focal point the human eye would naturally be drawn to, and optimizing sharpness, contrast, and color in a way that feels intentional rather than algorithmic. The result is a picture that has a three-dimensionality and a depth that is immediately visible to even untrained eyes. Skin tones are rendered with a warmth and subtlety that feels genuinely lifelike. Shadow detail in dark scenes is preserved with extraordinary care. Film grain is respected rather than smoothed away. Sony's processing is, by nearly universal agreement among professional reviewers, the most cinematically correct of any television manufacturer in 2026. LG's Alpha 11 AI processor is a formidable piece of engineering that delivers picture quality improvements over its predecessor that are clearly visible in direct comparison. LG's processing philosophy is different from Sony's. It prioritizes measurable accuracy and brightness optimization over cinematic feel. The result is a picture that is extraordinarily detailed, genuinely bright for an OLED display, and technically impressive in almost every measurable way. However, in direct side-by-side comparisons with Sony's Bravia processing, some professional calibrators and videophiles note that LG's image can occasionally appear slightly more processed, particularly in the handling of natural textures like human skin, foliage, and fabric. Black levels and contrast. OLED black levels are the defining advantage of the technology, and Sony's implementation is exceptional. Because every pixel in an OLED panel generates its own light and can switch completely off, true black is simply the absence of any light whatsoever, a quality that no LCD or mini LED display can replicate regardless of how many local dimming zones it employs. Sony's processing ensures that near black shadow detail is handled with extraordinary precision. The transition from black to the darkest visible shadow tones is gradual, natural, and rich with information. In a dark room, watching a film shot with careful attention to shadow and contrast, a Sony Bravia OLED is an experience that genuinely moves people. LG's black levels are, technically speaking, identical to Sony's, because both televisions use OLED panels that generate perfect blacks through pixel-level light control. Where LG distinguishes itself is in peak brightness, the maximum luminance that the panel can achieve in HDR highlights. LG's 2026 OLED EVO panels push peak brightness numbers that make their HDR performance genuinely reference class, with specular highlights in HDR content, the glint of light on water, the bloom of a sunset, the flash of an explosion, appearing with a brilliance and a physical punch that was simply not achievable on OLED panels 2 or 3 years ago. In terms of the combined contrast experience, perfect blacks alongside genuinely bright highlights, LG's 2026 flagship panels set a standard that the industry has not seen before: color accuracy and reproduction. Color reproduction on a Sony Bravia OLED is, in a word, gorgeous. Sony's processing prioritizes color accuracy in the way that a professional monitor calibrated for a Hollywood color grading suite would, with an emphasis on natural, believable color rather than saturated, eye-catching pop. The result is color that looks exactly the way the cinematographer intended it to look. Flesh tones across different skin tones and lighting conditions are rendered with a subtlety and fidelity that is genuinely impressive. Nature documentaries take on a richness and a depth that makes the world on screen feel more real than the room around you. It is color in service of the image rather than color as a spectacle in itself. LG's color performance in 2026 is genuinely exceptional, particularly in their flagship G-series models, which ship from the factory with one of the most accurately calibrated color profiles of any consumer television available. LG's coverage of wide color gamut standards, DCI P3 for cinema content and Rec 2020 for the most demanding HDR material, is among the highest measured of any consumer display. The colors are vivid, accurate, and beautifully saturated. In the hands of a professional calibrator, an LG G-series OLED can achieve a level of color accuracy that rivals professional reference monitors. For the viewer who wants to see exactly what a colorist put into a production, every intentional color decision, every grade, every creative choice, LG delivers it with remarkable fidelity. Motion handling. Motion handling is an area where Sony's processing heritage gives it a meaningful advantage. The cognitive processor XR uses Sony's XR Motion Clarity system to manage fast-moving content with extraordinary precision, reducing blur without introducing the artificial soap opera effect that makes processed motion look unnatural and cheap. Film content is handled with respect for the original 24 frames per second cadence, and sports content is rendered with the kind of clarity and smoothness that makes fast motion genuinely watchable without visual discomfort. For cinema purists who are deeply sensitive to motion artifacts, Sony's approach is widely considered the most satisfying in the market. LG's motion performance in 2026 is very strong, particularly in their flagship G-series models, which feature a 144Hz native panel refresh rate that delivers smoother motion with virtually no judder across all content types. LG's ThinQ AI motion processing offers a range of user-adjustable settings that give the viewer significant control over the motion handling profile of the television. For sports watching, gaming, and any high frame rate content, the 144Hz panel gives LG a measurable technical advantage over Sony's standard 120Hz implementations. The motion is fast, clear, and confident. Gaming performance. Sony's gaming performance is, as you might expect from the manufacturer of PlayStation, genuinely excellent. The Bravia line supports 4K at 120 frames per second through HDMI 2.1 ports, includes variable refresh rate technology, and features an auto HDR tone mapping system that automatically optimizes the picture for PlayStation 5 content in real time. Sony has also developed a deep, perfect for PlayStation integration that goes beyond standard HDMI handshake protocols to deliver a gaming experience that is specifically tuned for the console their own engineers designed. Input lag is competitive, and the overall gaming experience is excellent. For PlayStation owners in particular, a Sony Bravia OLED is the most logical and most rewarding display choice available. Gaming on an LG OLED is, by almost universal consensus among professional gaming display reviewers, the reference standard in 2026. LG's implementation of gaming features is the most complete and most mature of any television manufacturer, with 4 HDMI 2.1 ports, native 144Hz panel support, G-Sync compatibility, FreeSync Premium Pro certification, and input lag measurements that are among the lowest ever recorded on a large format display. The Game Optimizer dashboard gives players granular control over every aspect of the gaming picture, and LG's support for both Dolby Vision gaming and HDR10 ensures compatibility with every major gaming platform and every major HDR gaming standard. For the serious gamer who also demands reference picture quality, LG OLED is the undisputed choice in 2026. Full details video. Just one moment before we get to sound, smart features, and the final verdict. If you want a complete dedicated breakdown of the best Sony Bravia OLED and LG OLED models of 2026, including our full room measurement data, calibration results, and size-by-size pricing analysis, those videos are available right now in the I button at the top right corner of your screen. We have done the deep work so you do not have to, so make sure you check those out after this comparison. Sound quality. Audio from a Sony Bravia OLED is, by the standards of built-in television sound, genuinely exceptional. Sony's Acoustic Surface Audio Plus technology uses the OLED panel itself as a speaker. Actuators mounted behind the screen cause the entire panel to vibrate and produce sound, meaning that the audio comes from exactly the same place as the picture. The effect is a sense of on-screen presence that is deeply immersive. Voices come from the mouths of the actors, sound effects originate from their correct positions on screen, and the overall audio experience has a spatial coherence that no conventional side-firing or down-firing speaker system can achieve. For viewers who use their television's built-in audio, Sony's implementation is the most sophisticated and the most satisfying in the market. LG's built-in audio system has improved substantially in 2026, with their flagship G series delivering a 60-watt multi-channel system with Dolby Atmos processing and AI-driven room adaptation. The sound is powerful, clear, and more spacious than most television speakers. However, it is a conventional speaker array rather than Sony's panel vibration approach, which means the audio does not originate from the screen surface itself. For the majority of viewers who will add a soundbar or a full surround sound system to their television, this distinction is irrelevant. But for those who rely on the television's built-in speakers for everyday viewing, Sony's Acoustic Surface Audio delivers an experience that LG's conventional speaker approach cannot fully replicate. Smart TV platform. Sony's Smart TV platform, Google TV, is one of the most complete and most well-supported operating systems in the television market. The interface is clean, intuitive, and genuinely useful, with Google Assistant integration, Chromecast built-in, and a content discovery system that aggregates recommendations from every connected streaming service in a single unified interface. The Google TV platform receives regular software updates, supports a vast ecosystem of streaming apps, and integrates seamlessly with Android smartphones, Google Home devices, and the broader Google ecosystem. For the viewer who lives in a Google or Android household, Sony's Smart TV experience is as comfortable and as natural as any platform available. LG's WebOS remains one of the most respected and most consistently praised smart TV platforms in the industry. In 2026, WebOS has been refined to a level of polish and responsiveness that makes it genuinely pleasurable to use. The interface is fast, the app selection is comprehensive, the remote control is one of the most user-friendly in the business, and LG's ThinQ AI integration adds intelligent features that actually add value to the daily viewing experience. including automatic picture mode selection based on content type, voice control that genuinely works, and a magic remote pointer system that makes navigating the interface feel as natural as using a computer mouse. For raw usability and day-to-day satisfaction, WebOS remains the platform that competing manufacturers consistently try to imitate. Price and value in 2026. Sony Bravia OLED televisions carry a premium over LG's equivalent panel sizes in almost every category, a premium that their devotees argue is entirely justified by the quality of the processing, the build of the chassis, and the overall ownership experience. In 2026, a 65-inch Sony Bravia, a 95L, or its direct successor will typically cost between $2,500 and $3,200, depending on the retailer and the timing of the purchase, and $3,000 investment. But for those who prioritize cinematic picture quality and the Sony ecosystem above all else, it is a premium that consistently delivers visible and tangible returns. LG's pricing in 2026 is one of its most compelling arguments. As the manufacturer of the underlying panel technology, LG is able to offer OLED performance at price points that competitors using their panels cannot match. The LG C-Series, consistently one of the most praised consumer electronics products in any category, delivers flagship OLED picture quality at a price that frequently undercuts Sony's equivalent offerings by $400 to $700. The G-Series Gallery OLED pushes performance to near reference levels for the serious enthusiast, while the entry-level A-Series makes OLED accessible to buyers who previously could not justify the category's price of entry. In terms of performance per dollar, LG's OLED lineup is the most compelling value proposition in the premium television market. Best use case. A Sony Bravia OLED is the definitive choice for the cinema lover and the PlayStation enthusiast. If you watch films as a serious passion, if you care about the grade, the framing, the color intent of the cinematographer, and you want a television that reproduces the director's vision with the most natural and emotionally faithful picture processing available, Sony Bravia is your display. It is also the unambiguous choice for PlayStation 5 owners who want the most deeply integrated and most specifically optimized gaming experience for their console. If your screen is where art happens, Sony belongs on your wall. An LG OLED is the definitive choice for the serious viewer who wants everything. If you watch sports, play games across multiple platforms, stream content from every major service, and want a television that performs at the absolute highest measurable level across every single use case, without compromise, without limitation, and without paying a premium for a brand name, LG OLED is your display. It is for the viewer who does not specialize, who watches the Champions League final, then plays a gaming session, then settles in for a film, then watches a nature documentary, and wants every single one of those experiences to be the best it can possibly be. In 2026, no television delivers that breadth of excellence more consistently than an LG OLED. Final verdict. At the end of the day, Sony Bravia OLED is about art and intention. It is a television built by people who understand what content creators intended, who respect the creative process behind every frame, and who have engineered their processing to serve the image rather than impress the viewer. The picture has a quality that transcends measurement, a cinematic soul that you feel more than you analyze. For the viewer who watches film the way an audiophile listens to music, with complete attention, deep appreciation, and high standards, Sony Bravia OLED is the most emotionally satisfying television in the world in 2026. At the end of the day, LG OLED is about performance and dominance. It is a television that wins on almost every objective measurement, leads the industry in gaming capability, offers the most refined smart TV experience in the market, and delivers all of this at a price that consistently outperforms the competition. In 2026, LG OLED has not just competed with the best displays in the world, it has defined what the best looks like. For the viewer who wants the most capable, the most versatile, and the most technically accomplished television available at a real-world price, LG OLED has crushed the competition. And the numbers prove it. Thank you so much for watching this full comparison today. Both Sony Bravia and LG OLED are extraordinary televisions, and either one will transform the way you experience content in your home. The choice between them comes down to one simple question. Do you want the most cinematic picture or the most complete performance? Answer that, and your decision is made. If you want to see our complete Sony Bravia model breakdown for 2026, including which size and tier gives the best value, click the video on the left side of your screen right now. Or if you want to see our full LG OLED lineup guide with size recommendations and buying advice, check out the playlist on the right. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a Grip Things video. See you in the next one!